Hello and welcome everyone. This is Phoenix with your Patriot Health Report for the weekend of November 30th, 2024. All the health facts you need to know for the Patriot on the go. Hope you guys are doing well, and can you believe it? The last day of the 11th month of this year. Man, we only have 31 more days until, hey, we're in 2025. You know, of course, I'm joined by Bob Gilpatrick of Boomers Forever Young, as usual, thank goodness. And today's topic, we're going to talk about gratitude. Not only having gratitude, but thinking about gratitude. And Bob has a lot of tips for us because it's so important. Your mindset, your heart, there's physiological things that happen, chemical things that happen, and spiritual things that happen when you are vibrating in the condition of or the frequency of gratitude. And, you know, very fitting. And, of course, Bob came up with the thought for this because it is Thanksgiving, a time to be thankful here in the United States as we celebrate, as you have celebrated Thanksgiving. And hope everyone did have a wonderful Thanksgiving if you do observe it. And you should everywhere. We should all be thankful all the time because it's not just one day. Anyway, I'm going to shut up because we have the expert here, and that is Bob Gilpatrick of Boomers Forever Young. Bob, how are you doing? And I have one question for you, sir. Are you thankful to be down in St. Petersburg, Florida? And are you thankful for the weather? And are you thankful how your business is doing and what's going on?
Yes, I'm actually very, very thankful. And I'm thankful for the weather. I'm thankful that hurricane season seems to be over. And I'm also thankful that we have put a bunch of products on sale here at the end of November that people could take advantage of. And we made this really great 25% off sale. So if people make their way to the website, you can see, all of our best stuff is on sale right now. It's real easy to get. And we're also answering the phones here during the holidays if people need help and calling in. And that's a story that I'm really grateful to embrace. And I'll tell you why it is, Phoenix. We get testimonials from people quite frequently thanking us because of the positive benefit to their health and their life. And they will conclude at the bottom of their testimonial, and thank you for the great sales that you put on. And people appreciate it when you put products on sale because it's a chance to get gifts for their loved ones at a reduced price, get their own product at a reduced price. And it's a surprising stimulus for gratitude. We do it because we want people to be able to have a time of year when they can make sure they can afford everything they want, and to kind of add to the holiday cheer for everyone. But the gratitude we receive back is very constant and consistent.
Well, that's very cool. And I know I'm thankful for your products and been using them for years, and excellent. And, you know, anything else before we get into topic, Bob? That was a very good update on everything, but anything else before we get rolling on the actual topic?
No, I think it's good to get started on the topic, and other things that were meant to come up will probably just come about.
Without a doubt. Again, gratitude. Now, this is a very important topic, everyone, because, you know, you've heard me talk about this before. And if you're a member of PHR, I talk about preparedness, physical preparedness, you know, having what you need in time of disaster. And so you don't want to be the person standing in a line. You want to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. But But occasionally I will remind everyone it doesn't matter what kind of gear you have, what kind of training you have, what if you think you're the most prepared person in your neighborhood, if you don't have a right mindset, you may not make it. So I tell you what, it's better to have a correct mindset, a strong constitution, if you will, within your spirit, a positive attitude, and you can get through things that many people can't. It's so important, your mindset. And I was in the introduction here where I was talking about gratitude and the energetic of it. There's more to just like, oh yeah, I'm thankful, ha ha ha. No, this is very important, everyone. It truly is, because Bob's shared with us before from the data and all the things from like the Heart Math Institute and all of this, how out of our heart, our actual physical heart, energy is released and it goes out into the environment, and there's an entire mental, spiritual mindset that goes along with this that activates within us physiologically things that manifest not only physically but also energetically. It's a really complex but simple concept, and it's also, there's many religions this is based, and they speak about thankfulness, faith, gratitude, and joy, and how important it is. And I'm going to stop right now. Bob, you take this because I know you got a lot of data, a lot of different things to share with us. And please just let us know what you want to share. And I know it's going to be a lot. Okay, please.
Sure, Phoenix. And just, based on what you were just saying, is the mindset, whether or not you have a positive attitude or you're negative, that is that phenomena of a balance between the two is universal in human beings. And we actually have neural circuits in our brain that are positive and forward looking and grateful. And we also have neurocircuits that are survival type circuits for responding to pain, responding to danger. And in the modern day and age, a lot of people can get stuck with an imbalance where they're more focused towards that pathway of defensive-ness. And that's what the neuroscientists refer to this as. They refer to it as a pro-social neural circuit or a defensive and fear-based neural circuit. And what they know from their research is that you can tip the scales more towards the pro-social by having a regular practice of gratitude. And it's not just any practice of gratitude, but we'll go through what seems to be more effective based on research. And so when we say research, we're talking about scientists that have human subjects in laboratories that are going into an MRI machine that is looking deep into their brain at the neural circuits and is watching in real time what changes in their brain when certain activities are performed while they're in this MRI. And in the case of what we'll discuss today is certain things that help people feel gratitude, what is it actually doing to their brain? But ultimately, what we're trying to do is change that balance where we become more pro-social and we constantly activate pro-social neural circuits so they become stronger. Because as we do, then what becomes less is the sense of anxiety related to past traumas and the sense of anxiety related to the future. And we become very resilient. So if a trauma occurs, but we're mostly pro-social, those negative things in life tend to be much less. And in addition, our physical health is going to be much better because people that are dominant in the pro-social or the parasympathetic nervous system have it improves their heart, their cardiovascular endurance. It improves their ability to perform, but mentally and physically. It improves their relationships, which is super important. It helps to lower blood pressure. It helps to increase self-esteem, and it it really importantly helps us to be more likely to be helpful and empathetic towards others. And this is all really important to know because if you look back at the kind of the beginning of the study of human psychology, Sigmund Freud, talked about the psychology of happiness, and he said it's really difficult for humans to be happy without concentrated effort because we're born into a world that gives us a body that over time decays and gets sick as you live to be 100 years old. And we, even as a young child, are witnessing this progressive dispossession of resources that elderly people are experiencing. And our body signals to us when things are wrong with pain. And so this is kind of the antithesis of happiness. And those are internal, physical, human things. But there's also external destructive forces, as we saw here in Florida with back-to-back hurricanes that were both the worst in 100 years that happened within 10 days. And you can see the immense distress that that's caused to the people here in Florida. And I just saw another circumstance of this yesterday related to really super crazy FEMA rules that just completely upended the lives of 3 different people yesterday afternoon. And
Really, really. Before you go
yeah,
on, you piqued my curiosity.
mhm.
I guess we can all be gratitude this didn't have gratitude this didn't happen to us. But what is that story? I don't mean to, disrupt
um,
you, but I'm very curious. What is this about?
yeah, so and you see this because down here people are throwing mass protests at the city halls because of the slow rate of the issuance of permits. Now, permits are always issued slowly. Bureaucracies at the cities are just the worst, by nature. But now they're also required to follow FEMA rules that don't make any sense. And so, for example, if your house has been significantly damaged, but you're going to keep it and repair it, you you have to have in some cases, 5 different FEMA representatives come to that property and approve of a path of action for making improvements to that property. So even if you only had a half an inch of water on your floor, right, FEMA has to be involved in every aspect of every repair that you want to make to that property. And and they're not going to come to grant that permission to you for months.
Oh, wow.
In the time frame, your house can become totally filled with mold and on and on and on.
Which means it would be possibly condemned.
Yeah.
I don't want to get too distracted with what we're talking about, but that's a pet peeve of mine. Actually, on the 27th, on Wednesday, I spoke about this issue and the complications, but North Carolina related. Again, we have to, and this is one reason we have to have gratitude because even in hard situations, everyone, like Bob's talking about, but I will throw one thing out there that I did notice and people were talking about when you did have the devastation from two storms, Bob, that one of the very first cities in the United States that would be designated as what's called a, quote, 15-minute city, unquote. If you don't know what that is, everyone, look it up, was right where you're at. So, and there was some speculation that that's what they were going to go for, and like some kind of forced things. But again, not to get too far off topic, but this I think this is good that we diverted into this for just a moment, because in times like that, what Bob's talking about and teaching us today about the attitude of gratitude, it isn't just when the sun's shining, everybody. Oh, look, it's a beautiful day, the sunshine, I have friends, oh, my bank account's doing good, I have gratitude. It is to try to reach down within you and have the ability to have and find gratitude in situations like Bob was just like talking about. Now, I've often told, and I tell people, everything happens for a reason, everything. And it's a spiritual and psychological thing that you have to do, is to find, and even if you can't find something good in a bad situation, you have to come to peace in the realization and knowing that maybe not right there, it doesn't look that good, but you know that for some reason in the future you'll look back and say, oh my God, if that thing I didn't think was like the end of the world didn't happen, I wouldn't be in this wonderful place now. I wouldn't have met this person. I wouldn't have this job or be in this condition. And that we're going to see that prove out. We have no ability to see that. But Bob, I will guarantee you, because I know this, I know it, I know that there are people being turned down right now who are protesting, who are totally upset, that it could be 6 months from now, it could be a year from now. They'll be in a position, in a place, and they'll be like, oh my God, I never thought I would live here. I never thought I'd have a house like this, because that's the way it works. But it only works that way many times if you realize that. And realizing that truth, that great truth, and being grateful and having gratitude in when everybody else thinks the world's falling down around them. It's almost, we could almost equate that form of gratitude that we're going to talk about here in a moment to faith, because you can't see it. You can't see how it's going to turn out, but to actually have thankfulness and gratitude, which gives you peace in your heart, that it will all be well. It's literally a magical and spiritual thing that has physical and real 3D reality effects. Please continue.
Yeah, faith is in circumstances that seem, almost impossible. Faith is really wonderful. There's also clarity through contrast, right? Because having a hassle with FEMA is not the end of the world, and it's not the end of your life. Okay. There are a lot worse things that can happen on the planet than that. And in fact, we know people who died as a result of the hurricane, during the hurricanes, right? And so that, fixing your house up later on in the midst of a bureaucracy is, by contrast, not that big of a deal. But there's also, Freud also talked about the third thing that makes us tend to be locked in these defensive circuits is social relationships with family, with your spouse, raising children, people at work. And Freud said that those social relationship difficulties was actually the most challenging of all of those three things that we just talked about. And so when we talk about gratitude, we're talking about what do we do to try to get into a mindset that becomes embedded and permanent in the midst of this tendency to go towards this defensive posture as opposed to the pro-social. And the reason this part's important, Phoenix, is the scientists can measure in your brain which of those circuits you're in at any given time, and they can do experiments and watch the electrical activity in your medial prefrontal cortex, which is associated with prosocial, and they can see what actually makes it increase or decrease. And this type of science is really, really incredible, that these PhD professors that have the benefit of an institution that because it's a collective, has the resources to purchase these highly sophisticated new scientific equipment. We can now know today what we're going to talk about going forward here related to gratitude. And a lot of institutions of higher learning get a lot of grief, right? They because of you know, things like, diversity, equity, and inclusion. But there's also a tremendous amount of good that can come from a collective, and being able to have the best researchers in the world at those buildings with electron microscopes and MRI machines, et cetera, and be very difficult for individuals to be able to pull off this type of research. But then, in addition, to have amazing scientists that are not only doing that research, but also aggregating the research from many, many others, and both reporting on it in podcasts and in journals, but in some cases, like the case with Eric Kurtz, aggregating it into the production of an actual end product that people can actually take by mouth, that literally alters the chemistry for people in a way that's highly, highly beneficial for many of the things we mentioned previously, with cardiovascular and blood pressure and energy and that type of thing. And so it's and so this is another example, Phoenix, of the difference between the defensive and the pro-social, right? Even with institutions of higher learning that have gotten such a bad rap, places like Harvard, right? Boy, do they ever do a lot of good also. And so it's valuable for us to know that and to focus on that, because otherwise we couldn't have this conversation that we're having today. It would be a different conversation, and it could very well be a set of recommendations that aren't actually true or accurate, which happens many times over the years and the decades, where things are being proposed as if, oh, this is absolutely the way to do it. And later on, when they actually peer into the brain, they'll go, oh man, we were wrong about that. Right?
Yeah.
And today's discussion is literally, about that. And so one of the really, really important things is to insert a regular gratitude practice into the midst of those two parallel pathways, so that you tip the actual physical neurological preferences of your brain towards the pro-social. And as they say, you have to work to feel good. And this is the work that you will do. But as we'll see, it's not really going to feel, like work.
Oh, absolutely not. Because whenever you do achieve it, it's a pleasant thing. It's a wonderful thing. It's a peaceful thing that brings solace to your heart, mind, soul, and body.
Yeah. And so we know that stories are very, very powerful things for people to experience to enhance their life. And as it turns out, stories are the most important thing in regard to gratitude. And one research study was done with many, many different people at different times of the day in different locations around the country, where they were in these MRI machines and they were listening to the same story. Everybody listened to the same story. And what they discovered was that particular story had the exact same effect on every one of the participants' brains and also on their heart. Their heart rate variability changed into a very specific pattern, and their brain waves changed into a specific pattern. And it didn't matter who the people were or where they were at the time when they experienced this story, they got this effect. And really, really important to know that, because it illustrates the power of stories with actual brain scans. And so we start talking about, well, what do we do in order to have the right technique with the right story? And as it turns out, that if people do have a story that they are experiencing, which is a story that follows a particular theme, meaning that a person was in a situation of survival or difficulty, and they were even close to the point where they were about to die, and somebody else came along and helped that person, and they ended up surviving and getting better. Um, Classic story was that they use in some of this research was a story about a woman who was in prison and she was dying. She had been sick for weeks, and it turned out that another prisoner came and helped her and was somehow able to secure an herb or some type of medicine to give to her. And she ended up getting completely better and survived and was intensely grateful for her person that had helped to save her life. And when people watch stories or listen to stories like that, the the section of their brain that fires up when you're in a state of gratitude made the biggest, by far, improvement in that area of the brain, and subsequently shifting in more into the pro-social than anything else that they've studied over the years.
Very cool.
And it basically is a story of other people receiving things from another person, and they're receiving help, and help is one of the keys. And they found all of the neurocorrelates using the MRIs when doing these particular research studies. And so we have to begin to think about, what is it that we can do that will allow us to utilize some of this research in a way that can really help us. And so they say that if you are able to think of a time for yourself specifically that was a time when you helped somebody else and you received a genuine reciprocation of gratitude that came to you. So Phoenix is helping someone in a situation where he's a first responder and he ends up helping someone who is stuck or is injured. and helps to save their life, keeps them alive till the ambulance gets there, or is the ambulance that gets there that's administering the life-saving intervention. And later on, he goes to the hospital to visit that person, and the outpouring of genuine gratitude from the person in the hospital bed is this is a very genuine expression of gratitude, and that expression is what activates that prefrontal cortex. And this is the type of story that you want to remember, right? So a time that you did something to help another person, and you were very empathetic, and now you are receiving this very genuine, which is the key, genuine expression of gratitude towards you. All right. And then what you want to do is you want to pick a story. Now, some people have many of these, so you don't have to use the same one every time. But if you've got one that's very strong for you, what you want to do is you want to identify some cues related to that. Maybe a picture in your mind of the person in the hospital bed in tears and wanting to hug you in gratitude. That could be a cue. Okay. The other cue could be you've come home from the hospital and you're telling your wife, wow, I just had this experience, right? Now, why do you need these cues? Because you don't want to have to go through the whole story again every time unless you've got the time and you want to, right? But then while you're using this cue to bring up the scene and the feeling of the gratitude coming to you, this is not you saying, I'm so grateful for something. This is you embracing gratitude towards yourself, right? And this is the key difference, Phoenix. That's a lot different than writing in a journal, I'm so grateful for the sunny day. I'm so grateful for my wife. I'm so grateful for this, right? It's not about that. It's about you embracing the gratitude towards you. And all you have to do is think about it for between 1 and 5 minutes. And you get to choose if you can hold that state of feeling that gratitude. Okay. Great. Hold it for 5 minutes. Right. And really do this activity where you're feeling it and really deeply feel into it. Right? Now they say, well, how often and when should we do this? Well, there's scientific evidence about that too. And the how often is 3 times a week or more. You want to do this. And so the scientists are saying, listen, 1 minute, 3 times a week of this specific type of gratitude will totally change your life. It'll change you to a pro-social person faster than anything. It'll help your heart. It'll help your relationships, your resilience. It'll help you feel more likely to help others. Well, guess what? By embracing something you did to help somebody else makes you more likely to do it again. Right? And then they say, well, what time of day is best? The best time of day is in the morning. Do it when you wake up. So a lot of people will wake up, all right, I'm going to put my feet on the floor and I'm going to write in my gratitude journal. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't hurt anything. In fact, it does help, okay? But it's only 1/10 as powerful if you were to spend 1 minute in your heart imagining a time when someone else was grateful for you. Right? Now, if you can't do it in the morning for whatever reason, the next best time is just before bed. And after that, any time that you want to do it. Okay. So now that's the way that they do it in the scientific experiments, Phoenix. This is one of the things I recommend that you can do to add into that. Okay. Add in havening. Okay?
Right.
Add in havening while you're feeling that. Just simply rub your hands together, right? And go, man, this feels really good. Thinking of that time I was able to help that person by the grace of God who gave me the ability to do this. And I was there, I was in the right place at the right time for that person to help save them. And boy, this is just an amazing thing that God has given me this capacity to do this. Now, why would you want to do that? Well, we know when people do this gratitude with a story, right? A few different things happen. That medial prefrontal cortex lights up, right? But also what happens is there's a deregulation, a downregulation of the amygdala, which is usually hyperactive during a trauma or hyperactive during a time of fear. And and just the practice of gratitude helps with that. But we know that, and they're doing this with neurochemistry, Phoenix. They're watching the chemistry, they're measuring the chemistry, and they're measuring electrical activity. Electrical, not electromagnetic. Okay? But we know that when people do havening and gently rub their hands together, okay, it's changing the electromagnetic signature in the amygdala that results in a downregulation, meaning the beta waves that are present, the electromagnetic beta wave, that is giving the platform for the neurochemistry of fear or trauma, is changed to a beta wave. And in beta, there's no facilitation of the chemistry. So you can get a really great double benefit by rubbing your hands together while you're imagining this genuine expression of gratitude towards you. And if you try that, I'll tell you, you will feel so good. You'll never want to miss a day. In fact, you won't want to stop. You'll be like, oh man, 5 minutes is up already. I don't want to stop doing this, right? But you have to get on with your day. So you stop and you'll look forward to doing it every morning, because who wouldn't want to wake up in the morning with the anticipation of feeling so good and so grateful that you're just in a state of bliss. And when you do this with a story and havening, that is exactly what happens.
You know, an interesting thing I'm thinking, Bob, came to mind. I've actually read some research before about we see depictions of prayer, placing your hands together, your palms together, also in some of the like different practices of meditation where you touch certain fingertips against other fingertips and all of this, but it has to do with the hands. And you're talking about rubbing your hands together. And I've actually read research about the electrical or spiritual, something that happens when you place your palms together. And you're talking about rubbing them, but yeah. And again, not to distract, but the thought of the posture of people traditionally of prayer, fingers, palms together. Interesting stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. When we talk about activating the pro-social, activating the frontal cortex, this area of the brain is very prone to be improved and triggered in the positive sense. It's not hard to increase this part of your brain's activity. It responds really quickly and really well. And numerous things then, begin to happen that you really start to change your immune system. We know that when people do this type of thing, they improve their immune system, and it's measurable the way your immune system gets improved. And you can see, different things like, you know, um, interleukin 6, for example, which is a pro-inflammatory cytokine that's activated during a time of invasion from a pathogen, but also during stress, right? And you don't want that to be constantly activated because it's causing inflammation, which is causing you anxiety, which is causing more inflammation, which is causing you to age faster. And so if you want to downregulate, IL-6, this practice of gratitude will do that. And they know that it will do it because they've been studying it. And people that are under constant stress tend to be sick more often. Okay? So, Phoenix, moving into this story thing just a little bit more. One of the things the scientists recommend is that whatever the story is that you have, that you're thinking about, right? It's like, what is it about that story that you can do to really enhance it? Okay, so if you have a story that's something that has been on your mind and you want to begin to use it, okay, so what can we do that really allows us to make this even more emotionally impactful? And let's use the example, Phoenix, of the person in the hospital expressing gratitude that's been had their life saved, right? So how would we amplify that to make it even more powerful, if at all possible? But we absolutely can. And think about this. Don't only think about that person's gratitude, right? But think about his wife or his fiance. Think about how grateful they are also. Think about how grateful that man's children are. The fact that he's still alive. Imagine Thanksgiving dinner, and during that time, just before dinner time, they're saying a blessing over their family, and think of the child, the nephew, the cousin, the wife, and the sense of gratitude they feel because that man is there for this Thanksgiving dinner. They're just counting their blessings. Oh my God, what would it be like if he wasn't here, if he hadn't lived? Right? And you can close your eyes, imagine that dinner scene, and just smile. Put your hands over your own heart and imagine that you're hovering above on the ceiling, looking down over this great blessing, not only for that man, but all the people in his life that love him. And that is the gratitude that you can take in, right? Take it in and amplify it. And you're going to practice this. The key is do it over and over again, 3 times a week, 7 times a week, for weeks and months and years, right? Because you are who you practice being, right? So
Very
when you
true.
do this, this is who you become. You become a walking picture, a walking example of gratitude. And the more you do it, the more likely you are to do something similar again. And then your blessing to the world continues. It's amplified and it moves with you into the future. And you become a permanent blessing to the world when you do this type of thing. So it's much, much more than, oh, I'm going to practice gratitude. Well, why do you do that? Well, it helps me to not be in a bad mood when I have to go to work, because I think about how grateful I am that, there's only 4 more hours left and then I can go home. Right? No, you're doing this to amplify the very best parts of yourself so that when you arrive at work, you are an energetic, you know, powerhouse, a force to be reckoned with that's emitting so much love and gratitude from your heart muscle and from your brain that every person that comes within 50 feet of you has no choice but to be affected by it.
Yeah, and that is very real, and that happens, people. Bob's just not, giving you a wild example. That has been scientifically proven. Also, we've talked about this.
Yeah, now another thing about health and wellness that related to gratitude is like this. So we all know that exercise is one of the most important things for your health and wellness. And exercise, proper nutrition, and stress management are all really important. But in regard to exercise, a, a lot of people never benefit from exercise, even if they do it. And the reason is this: if you are going out for a walk or you're going over to the gym to work out and your attitude is, oh God, I got to go and work out. I know if I don't, I'm not going to be that healthy. I really don't want to do this, but I'm going to force myself to put on my sneakers and go over there and work out, even though I don't want to. We now know from research you'd be better off not going to exercise.
That's funny. That's true. That's funny.
Yeah, because your brain chemistry, the chemistry of your body is in such a state from that attitude that the exercise does more harm than good.
Been there, I want to say been there, done that. There's been a couple times like, oh man, I can't believe I got to hit the road. And,
Yeah.
I
Right.
know, and it really
Right.
doesn't. Even it's like one of the worst runs you ever had,
Yeah.
or you get back or you cut it short. Like, gosh.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. And so what can you do about that? Well, how about practice some gratitude around it? Okay. And go back and think of a time in your life where you were very active and fit and you were doing something that was really enjoyable, that was physical exercise. All right. So, say you played basketball in junior high school, and one game you scored 27 points and your team won the game. Bring up a picture of yourself running and shooting the ball and playing defense. And then at the end of the game, everybody's giving you high fives. And think about the aspects of gratitude that allowed you to do that. You had really great balance. You had really great hand-eye coordination. You had really great stamina and strength and speed. And you were in the flow. You were just flowing, and every time you touched the ball, you could see the exact person on your team that was open for the next shot, right? Get into that state and say a mantra and maybe do some havening while you're doing it, or even do some tapping on your fingertips. And you can say to yourself while you're getting ready to go work out, I am so grateful that I have the strength, that I have the balance, and I have the capability to go do this exercise. And I am so happy that I have the capability to experience the joy of doing this exercise. The fact that they went to all this trouble to make this beautiful gym with a basketball hoop. The fact that I'm going to get to see some of my friends. And when I pick up those weights to lift them, and I've got my headset on, listening to my favorite music, oh man, I am just going to feel so great. And I know that exercise equals growth for me. And I'm going to look back and be really happy that I did this because it's so good for me. Right? Now, You do that and you go to exercise, you will have a positive benefit for exercise. And the key phrase of all those phrases, Phoenix, is this is so good for me. Okay. Now,
Which is an expression of gratitude because you're
yeah,
being grateful for all
right.
this. It is gratitude.
Yeah. So there are research experiments that where scientists would take measurements, physiological measurements of different people. They were going into cold plunges, an ice bath. Okay. And one person was going into the ice bath because he really wanted to, and he knew it was really good for him for all these reasons. And another person had never been in a ice bath before, had no idea that it was good for them, and they really did not want to go into the ice bath, right? Two completely different physiological experiences. The person who knew it was good for them could sit in a state of bliss in this ice bath. Yeah, they were cold, but they could stay there for a half an hour. And when they got out, they felt wonderful and they were happy that they did it. The other person, 5 seconds later, they're jumping out of that ice bath. Okay.
It's funny.
Why? They didn't want to do it, right? They didn't think it was good for them. And that's the key. When they did all this research and talked to people and measured, that was the key thing. Do you think this is good for you? And not only think it's good for you, but be joyful about the fact that you get to go do something that's good for you, right? They say, your problems are another man's dream. Well, what's my problem? Well, I'm sitting here watching TV and I know it's Saturday afternoon and I really should be going to work out, but I really don't want to, right? It's going to take me 2 or 3 whole minutes to get over there to that gym. And then I got to be there for half an hour. And then I'm going to miss the second half of the Alabama-Florida game, right? Well, guess what? That problem that you have, another person is like, oh my God, you have a workout facility right at the place where you live, and all you have to do is walk 2 minutes over there. You don't have to drive 20 minutes to a gym. That would be ideal. I'd be so happy with that. Right?
True, very true.
Yeah. Your problems are another man's dream, and use clarity through contrast to enhance your experience of these gratitude practices. All right.
Very
So
true.
here's another thing that we know happens when people are feel in a sense of gratitude, and especially if they're using this aspect of the stories, right? We know that 2 brain chemicals increase: serotonin and oxytocin, right? And when you increase serotonin for any reason, your mind and body starts to feel a sense of contentment and appreciation, right? So it's like, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Ooh, I increased my serotonin. For some reason, I'm starting to feel content and appreciative. Or I'm doing this exercise with this incredible story. I'm feeling really blissful and my serotonin is going up, right? It works both ways. So here's something for you. What if you wanted to do both? What if you wanted to increase your serotonin and oxytocin before you start your gratitude story exercise? Think how that would feel, right? So what does a person do to increase serotonin or oxytocin? Well, there's 3 neurochemical aspects to the increase. One is you have to make serotonin in your brain. And it's made from a combination of different chemicals. including tryptophan. Right? You also have to have enough receptors for serotonin in your brain to receive the serotonin as it jumps across the synapse into the receptor, because in the receptor is where all the magic happens. It's not the serotonin BB itself that makes you feel good. It's when it arrives in the receptor and the receptor embraces it and starts a cascade of downstream metabolites that makes you feel good, right? Third thing, what if that little BB of serotonin that's jumping across to the receptor can't make it over there? Because the electrical potential in your brain is too low, because you don't take in enough fatty acids, you don't get enough sunlight, and so you have low electrical potential in your brain, right? Well, what if you had a Fisher-Wallace stimulator that you put on your temples? It's an exogenous FDA-approved electrical nerve stimulator that increases the electrical potential in your brain. They use it for treating depression. It's FDA approved for treating depression. Why? Because it elevates your serotonin. What if you did all three? What if every day, for years, like I have, since the year 2003, every day I've been taking some type of compound that increases my adult stem cells, which increases the number of receptors in your brain. And we've helped many people with depression to take these products. The most powerful one now is called Aloe Immune. And you take that every day, so you have a robust supply of receptors. Okay. You take your nutritional supplements so you know you can make enough serotonin. And if need be, you have your Fisher-Wallace stimulator over here on the desk, and you put it onto your head, turn on the power, boom, instant serotonin, right?
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden now we're starting to feel content and appreciative, okay? Now you want to increase some oxytocin, which is your molecule of love and desire and compassion, right? Oxytocin is manufactured both in your brain, but even more so in your heart muscle. And it's manufactured in response to the need to be empathetic, or a stimulus that makes you feel empathetic. A beautiful little child goes by in the stroller and you go, oh, look at that beautiful little baby. You make oxytocin. So think of something. Close your eyes. What is something that makes you feel very loving? Okay. Now your heart is starting to make oxytocin. Cross your hands over your heart. Imagine a neural pathway where the oxytocin is going to travel to your brain, because it actually does that, and push in gently on your heart, and imagine you're squirting a surge of oxytocin into your brain. It works really well. Now you've got some extra serotonin, you've got some oxytocin, and now we're going to imagine our story and all the incredible feelings that were coming from this person whose life we saved. And we're going to linger in gratitude, right? Linger in gratitude. And this is a key phrase. The longer you linger in gratitude, the more you draw your new life to you. So your new life is to be even more likely to help other people, right? Because many, many people, Phoenix, if you ask them the question, what is your own highest thought for yourself? What is the highest version of yourself that you can imagine? And many, many times people will bring to mind a religious figure that they worship and idolize. Oh, I want to be just like Jesus. I want to be a healer. I want to be always compassionate, even to people that strayed away and went and spent their half of the fortune and were wallowing with the pigs and came crawling back home in rags to their father, right? I want to be like that man. I want to be like the man that told the story of the return of the prodigal son to the tax collector and made him a disciple. That's what I want to be like. Okay? That's what people will say. If you really drill down, most people will say something like that. My highest thought for myself is to be like that. Okay. Well, guess what? You practice these exercises just like we're talking about now. And that is a very, very possible reality for you. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You shall do even greater works than me. Right? Well, we now have the key, right? We've been shown where the doorway is to those greater works, right? We've been given the key and shown how to open that doorway. And now we are at the point in our life where we can step through that doorway and be that glorious figure that we were born to be, right? Scientists at Stanford University have shown us the doorway. We put people in an MRI and measured their brain waves so we could tell the world how to do this, how to become the greatest thought that you have for yourself. Right? Mm-hmm. And that is, if you want to give gratitude for something, give gratitude for Dr. Huberman, give gratitude for the scientists at these incredible universities that, and then are able to articulate what to do. And then someone like us, Phoenix, can study it and learn it and then share it with thousands of other people, right? That will listen to this broadcast, right? What a great world, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and it's a great world, and it's a world on a clock. You'll never believe it, Bob, but we've hit an hour here. And I have great gratitude for everything you've been sharing, and I know everyone else does too. And, I would like to add one thing to that. If you can't think of anyone to have gratitude towards, well, I feel sorry for you, but you can look in the mirror and give gratitude to yourself for being able to comprehend this and to help yourself and be willing to improve the way things are. I mean, gratitude. What a wonderful, wonderful topic. Timely. Here we are on the heels of Thanksgiving and the true thankfulness. And I tell you what, the tips and some of the stories that you have shared, they hit home with me. And I know a lot of our listeners. And I'd like to say, Bob, I'm very, very grateful that you, every 2 weeks, take the time out of your schedule to share all these different things you have with us now, because we are, and again, I'm grateful for schedules. I'm grateful for time restraints. And there's a benefit to all of this for all of us. But anyway, as we roll out of here, Bob, couple things. Take your time on this. Final thoughts to wrap this up. Anything you want to share with us? Words of wisdom as we part out of here. Contact info and all of that.
Yeah, so the contact info is an 800 number that's answered by Lucy and Stephanie and Jim, and it's a 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, Eastern time, and it's an 800 number. Then the number is 861-4609. And if you give a call and you get our answering machine, worry not, because that gets queued right away into our Ring Central system. And as soon as someone hangs up the phone, they're looking at that system on their computer screen, and they dial you right back with a press of one button. And so you get called back quickly. Right. You can also, come to visit us if you'd like. You want to talk about gratitude and maybe go through this system, with me sitting, in our conference room where we are at 5401 Central Avenue in St. Petersburg, Florida. It's not a storefront. It's not someplace you come and shop for your nutrition products, but all of them are here in the back where the fulfillment center is. And so if you want to come by and pick up nutrition products or just to come by and chat, you can do that too. And to get to the website, go to patriotintelreport.com and look on the top left of the home screen, and you'll see this little banner that looks like a lady in a blue lightning storm. So click on the lady in the blue lightning. It'll bring you right over to our site, and you can watch podcasts there of all things health and wellness. And if you want to get any of the products on sale that we were talking about earlier, do that as well. And just for my last thoughts right here, this is, the end of November, beginning of December 2024. And I personally believe we have great reason for gratitude, not only for the moment right here and now, but a very good reason for joyful anticipation of the future. To see, hopefully the winding down of wars, et cetera. And I think that my dedication and push for this coming year is to be, as often as is humanly possible, to be in that state of pro-social neurocircuitry, pro-social attitude, and be prepared if there's something bad that comes about that has to be tended to, but not to awfulize it, but to handle it, to deal with it from a pro-social sense and reduce the resistance to it, increase resilience to it, and increase the likelihood, even in the face of difficulty, that I will be more likely to want to help others in the future.
Yes, everything happens for a reason, like I said earlier. So true. Well, Bob, thank you so much. I'm very grateful, again, that you took your time to do this for us. All the information, the great things, great products you guys provide, your great staff, all of that. Everyone, I encourage everyone to take advantage of that with the information Bob gave you. Bob, I'm really thankful. Thank you so much for coming. Looking forward to our next time.
Thank you, Phoenix. I'm grateful for you having me on and being able to talk to all your listeners. And thank you very much.
You're welcome. And I will hopefully have great gratitude and anticipation that we will do this again in 2 weeks. Until then, God bless, Bob, and have a really, really good weekend. And thank you.
Thank you, Phoenix. You have a great weekend, too.
Okay, thanks. Okay, that's it, everybody. Patriot Health Report for the last day of November. Oh, yeah, we got 1 month left in this year. Are you grateful for it? Or do you have gratitude for it? I do. You know what else I have gratitude for? I have gratitude for all of you listening right now that respond, you make comments, etc. And our listeners, all the members of PIR, Private, and the listeners to Patriot Health Report, and all the listeners throughout the years, and the information that Bob has shared with us has been so helpful to me and others that I know. That's what I'm grateful for. And I'm grateful that we will have the opportunity to do this again 2 weeks from now. So don't miss the next Patriot Health Report. Until then, everyone, be well, be strong, be grateful in all things. And until the next one, Phoenix and Bob out. God bless.